We're all a little depraved and debaucherous. Here is the king of podcasts.
And welcome to the Depraved and Debaucherous. This is King of Podcasts here with you. We're following along from last week's episode talking about Chappell Roan because unfortunately she's been having to do a lot of explaining, we'll say, about what she said that we referred to last week in two TikTok videos we played at the onset of the program, where she wants to be able to live her life without the constant harassment of obsessed fans that feel like, well, just because she's a pop star, she should be approachable, and that people should go ahead and just be able to go ahead and get to her and have access to her at any time, anywhere. And she should just be able to go and turn on her pop star persona whenever it is, when she's not very comfortable with it. And it's been taking a toll on her mental health. In so many words, that's what happens. So she's had a few more times to explain this. I know there was an interview I saw that she talked about, and there were some other things where she continued to go ahead and discuss what's been going on with her. Now, on Instagram, she put up a post saying that for the past 10 years, I've been going nonstop to build my project, and it's come to the point that I need to draw lines and set boundaries. I want to be an artist for a very long time. I've been in too many non-consensual physical and social interactions, and I just need to lay it out and remind you, women don't owe you shit. I chose this career path because I love music and art and honoring my inner child. I did not accept harassment of any kind because I chose this path, nor do I deserve it. When I'm on stage, when I'm performing, when I'm in drag, when I'm at a work event, when I'm doing press, I'm at work, any other circumstance, I am not work mode. And that's right. I am clocked out. And I understand where she's coming from with that. She wants to be able to go ahead and, when she has to play the role, she wants to be able to go ahead and play the role of the pop star that she has created thanks to her album, right? And she just wants to do that. By the way, I did quite a bit of explanation last week, and there was one thing I need to go and make sure I clear up because I probably said it wrong. I know I did. I referred to Taylor Swift's album, as to which Chappell Roan's album made short of the Billboard 200. I referred to Chappell Roan's album, I referred to Taylor Swift's album as the Dead Poets Society, and that was a obvious slip of the tongue. I wanted to say Tortured Poets Department, and I said it wrong, so that's what I did. And that was my mistake when I was trying to go and say that. And there was even other songs I didn't make mention of that I knew of as well. The Rise and Fall of a Midwest Princess. And the album has been out, and it's done very well. And like I said, aside from one album that's done better than her at her peak was the Tortured Poets Department by Taylor Swift. So I want to make sure I cleared that up. Now, for her, she signed to a major label, Island Records. It's obvious that with this level of stardom, I want to know where Island Records stands on this, why they have not responded back, and why her management team has not come in to go ahead and help protect her and keep her safe so that she can go ahead and live her life. Unfortunately, she's going to have to live the life because of the persona she's created. And we're going to talk about that. The persona that she's created, that fantasy, that fandom that's created by people being in awe of the character that she's created when she's on stage. That's what people are being obsessed about. And it's something that's unattainable. As I said, it's very much like porn. It's not something she's trying to do, but it's the way that the fans will interact with her and how they want to interact with her in the first place. We move along, and she says that I don't agree with the notion that I owe a mutual exchange of energy, time, or attention to people I do not know, do not trust, or who just creep me out. Because they're expressing admiration. Well, the other thing is too, is that sometimes the celebrity fandom gets a little too far. And that's the part where, yeah, I know there are going to be those fans out there that just expect you just to go ahead and just be humble and appreciate the success. So at any time, if somebody is a really big fan of yours and they go to your concerts, they bought your album, they bought your merch, they live your life because they want to live, and manifest themselves through you, they feel like they're entitled to go ahead and get a piece of you. And I agree with Chappell Roan that they don't deserve to do that. You want to close to her in concert, go get a backstage pass. Okay. You want to find her at a signing of her album, whatever it is. Like, you used to have all those kind of events where you get a meet and greet. Then you need to get yourself in those. Otherwise, you don't get access to her in the middle of the street. And for her, somebody needs to be protecting her and watching out for the talent. Where's Alan Rickers thinking about the fact that she's an asset? She is making them a lot of money right now. So protect the artist. Where's a bodyguard? Where is a team of people that can be escondido, okay? Can be hidden, can be kind of subtle, and just make sure she's being watched over and being protected. And it is not upon the family to go and protect her either. Women do not owe you a reason why they don't want to be touched or talked to, she goes on. This has nothing to do with the gratitude and love I feel for my community, for the people who respect my boundaries, and for the love I feel from every person who lifts me up and has stuck with me to help the project to get to where it is now. And this is the part where she doesn't need to apologize for what she said. I'm with that as well. She goes on and says that I'm specifically talking about predatory behavior, disguised as superfan behavior, that has become normalized because of the way women who are well known have been treated in the past. Hold on. It's not necessarily every superfan that's like this, but it's specifically because of the character you've created. It's very sexual. It's very risque. It's bombastic. It's not you. I understand that. Chappell Roan has made the point that like 10% of her is that character, but it's not really her. Maybe 30%, she says, but it's not her. That's not who she is. That's what she plays on stage. There was a time where people used to understand what that meant, but superfans today, because of social media, because of the amount of time that people can go ahead and just listen and just access her music, any kind of information that's out there about her, because there's so many different sites that could be talking about her, so many different message boards or groups or various things that are out there of people creating content in awe of her and admiration of her. Photo montages, editing videos, whatever there is, people might be doing some things that are just over the top. And some of that superfan behavior is just out there. It's just too much. And for some, this is what leads to stalking. This is what leads to other things. And that's where we don't know exactly what has gone on with her and how she has been approached, what this predatory behavior has become, what she's been subjected to. But I'm not here to go ahead and ask what that is. I just understand what she's telling us in her message tells us enough that she has been going through things like that. She continues to go on and say that, please do not assume that you know a lot about someone's life, personality, and boundaries just because you're familiar with their or their work online. If you're still asking, well, if you didn't want this to happen, then why did you choose a career where you knew you wouldn't be comfortable with the outcome of success? Understand this. I embrace the success of the project, the love I feel, and the gratitude I have. What I do not accept are creepy people being touched and being followed. The situation is similar to the idea that if a woman wears a short skirt and gets harassed and catcalled, she shouldn't have worn a short skirt in the first place. And I know there's going to be some of those out there that are absolutely going to say that about her in the first place. I get that. It's not the woman's duty to suck it up and take it. It's the harasser's duty to be a decent person and leave her alone and respect that she can wear whatever she wants and still deserve peace in this world. I agree. Goes on that says, I want to be able to love my life, be outside, giggle with my friends, go to the movie theater, feel safe, do all the things every single person deserves to do. Please stop touching me. Please stop being weird to my family and friends. Please stop assuming things about me. There's always more to the story. I'm scared and tired, and please don't call me Kaylee. I feel more love than I ever have in my life. I feel the most unsafe I've ever felt in my life. And then she says that there's a part of myself that I saved just for my project and all of you. There's a part of myself that is just for me, and I don't want that taken away from me. Thank you for reading this. Yeah. It's going to be hard for her to get that. It's not because of her. It's because of the fans out there. So some of you super fans out there that might have gone a little too far, and like if you had the chance to go ahead and be able to just touch the pop star, grab a piece of their fabric, like, there was a time when if it was the Beatles or the Monkees or, pick any kind of pop star that's out there, the boy bands especially, because those are the ones that really get this kind of attention. Yeah, they would go ahead and get mauled by hordes of young fans wanting to get close to them. And for the guys, it's one thing that's different. The other thing, too, is that I have to imagine that because of the persona that Chappell Roan portrays in her music, which definitely will attract men and women, my guess is the women that really are on top of this right now, that are causing the creepiness, causing the not understanding of boundaries when it comes to Popstar and fan. That's the thing I think that's really coming on to. And I agree with her on that. But this is the part where women who might be queer, who might be gay, who might be bisexual, that are feeling like, oh, look, it's like how some fans will feel over, say, Lady Gaga or Billie Eilish or Renee Rapp. It's like this, she's mother, right? There's this whole like queen, whatever. This idea that it's a worship that can be taken and misconstrued the wrong way. Because I know when I look at this, her music videos, her outfits, it is like porn. Of course, Chappell Roan doesn't want to be looked at that way, but the problem is that the fans out there, they are looking at her in a depraved, debaucherous manner. They are fantasizing. They are ingratiating. They are pleasuring themselves to her. And don't tell me you're not doing it. Listen, whatever you do in your home is fine, but she doesn't need to be a part of that. You know, there's just a thing where you're not going to get that close to her. You're not going to get the kind of attention or whatever that you want from her because of what she does to you, how she really deeply affects you from a sexual level, from a mental level, from a psychological level. Okay? She turns you on. Well, that's what she's going to do. She's doing her job. So her persona is catching attention. That's what she's supposed to do. That's the other part of the character that helps to sell the records, not just her music. It's the persona. It's everything that she brings along with it to add to more of this. So I feel bad that she had to go through this. This is a couple of days ago that she put this out there, but this was after I recorded last week's show. And I already said last week, I appreciate what she's doing. I think she does great for her music. She sounds like a great girl. She's got her head on her shoulders. I think she's got her head on straight. And I think what she's asking for is absolutely reasonable. Will the fandom out there be able to go ahead and respect her wishes? Because I think she's going to have problems like that, where there is going to be some behavior that will continue because some of the fans out there, because of the social media connection, they're going to feel like, well, that's not referring to me. Unfortunately, there will be stalkers probably. There will be some people that will be inappropriate in terms of trying to send things to her and trying to approach her and do things and ask her to do things for her, for them. And that's the part that you got to understand. That's like, there's a lot there. Now, Hayley Williams, lead singer of Paramore, also comes out talking about these toxic superfan behavior. And she goes along and also supports. And there's also a lot of support out there for what Chappell Roan was saying. And there are quite a few artists right now that have already, they like the Instagram post saying, you know, they showing their support and agreeing with her statement. So in those, you have Rachel Zegler, Tyla, SZA, Chloe and Halle Bailey, Madison Beer, all young stars in their own right, whether it's movies, music, etc., that all gave their support. Hayley Williams put a now expired Instagram story. She reposted a statement and added some encouraging words of her own. Quote, "This happens to every woman I know from this business, myself included. Social media has made this worse. I'm really thankful Chappell is willing to address it in a way in real time. It's brave and unfortunately necessary." Yeah, so these are all in agreement. And this is the thing where it's part of where some fans out there, it's the idea that we got a lot of simps out there. And it also goes on the female side. Let's show that too. How many times do we see particular influences out there that are absolute simps, males? Let me just preface that are absolute simps towards other celebrities that they might get close to. I mean, look, when Kai Cenat decided to go ahead and ask Tyla out, and he had her right there in the room with her, live streaming, it was a bit of, might have been a creep out for her. She handled it very well. Tyler did. But the thing is that if he wasn't famous, he probably wouldn't have gotten away with that. And if it's anybody else, some schmo off the street, doesn't matter how big of a fan you are, there's just certain environments you're not going to get yourself close to her and be able to approach it close. Because let me tell you, when I see Tyler go out performing wherever she is, right now she's in Korea and she's in some other worldwide areas right now. I see her all the time. She's always constantly has some kind of entourage with her. And Chappell Roan will need the same thing to make sure that she's going to be okay and that nobody's going to go ahead and go after her. And as I mentioned, 10 years of her career trying to get to where she is right now. And the truth is, she asked the fans out there, the TikTok videos for her, I mean, she wanted to reach out to her fans. She wanted to go ahead and say this out loud. The Instagram post was also to follow along. She doesn't need to explain anything else. At this point, nobody else needs to really be asking questions of her as to why she's doing this. And for any of the fans to be getting an explanation, what you got now is what you're going to get. You're not going to get anything else from this from now. And that's what it's going down to. She put out another TikTok video after this. We'll go and play it real quick.
Thank you for reading how I feel. Thank you for listening. I've just said my piece. Now you know how I feel. When a woman is upset and says something, the automatic response is to be like, yo, chill. It's like, it's not chill. So I'm not going to be chill. I want to throw parties for gay people on stage. Like, that's my favorite part of this. And I want people to feel safe at my shows and feel like a community. I want to feel that way too. I love you. And love is not transactional. And I think you know that. I just thank you for your support. This has nothing to do with that. Thank you for understanding.
Now, I'll say this too. When it comes to what she's trying to do, the fandom you have to understand is this. I think there's something to be said about that the fans that are listening to her music and feel empowered, they feel inspired, they feel manifested through her music and the kind of dreamy persona that she's created, that she is brought upon the public and they're in awe of her, they're in love with her, is because they're alone. And they're also feeling like they don't have anybody else in their lives that makes them feel like Chappell Roan does. Plenty of songs about breakup, plenty of songs about relationships and love. And when you have fans out there that maybe they went through trying to go through a straight relationship or straight relationships and chose to find gay partners instead. Or who knows if people just kind of go bisexual and what their feelings are. If you've exhausted your search for someone, a significant other, a partner, a love of your life, and for those that I can imagine that they might have said, okay, well, for women that might have approached men and now they're choosing women, much like Chappell Roan kind of insinuated and made mention of in her music, then who's to say that there's a lot more angst, there's a lot more trauma emotionally, psychologically, mentally that could be there as a result. And I'm not putting any particular group or sexuality or preference out there down. I'm not. I'm just saying I can understand if you've gone through more heartache and more bouts of depression and loneliness, I can understand it. And I think she really touches that point as well. And the other thing too is that if you're going to a concert, you are there with thousands upon thousands of fans. Sometimes you're seeing, like if it was in Chicago or somewhere else, that she's got a plethora of fans. And they also circumvent to other fandoms. So if it's Olivia Rodrigo's fandom, she brought Chappell Roan out on stage last week, and the crowd was all into it. But again, a lot of young women, mostly in that crowd, it looks like, that could be really going through quite a bit of issues. So, I mean, the thing is, of the fans that are out there, how many of them feel like they're not the happiest in the world? And so they'll attach to somebody that makes them feel good. And they might forget what the boundaries are. They might forget that their feelings of somebody that they really feel like they're so close to because of how close they feel that they've been able to get to her because of the music, because of the social media, because of the interaction that she offers on social media. Like right there, Instagram posts, TikTok posts, that she's able to go ahead and put out something that's so one-on-one personal to some of them that they feel like Chappell Roan is talking to them. Plus, remember, in these TikTok videos, she's been without makeup. She's not dressed up in the persona. She is talking as Kaylee, as her original personal self. And just trying to show this version of her, don't bother me. Please, don't harass me. Just leave me alone. You want to approach the Chappell Roan character that you love, that you're in love with, then come to my shows, show me support, listen to my music, and that's a way to be one with me. But that's the closest you're going to get to her. But in some cases, when you are that obsessed with somebody, you're just going to get yourself too much more. And especially when it's a sexual motion, it's a sexual component of it, when there's that romantic component to it, that closeness, it's an obsession. And it's overkill for some fans. And as we learned about last week, I'm taking from Washington Post, they make the point about that, quote, I get overwhelmed very easily. And she calls herself really introverted and a homebody. So when you know that, that's what's going to happen here. And when she became an artist, the name Chappell Roan, she'd taken on a drag name to separate herself from her work as a performer. According to gender and marketing professor Kristen Lieb at Emerson College, she says that it was a smart and protective move, but it wasn't enough to keep her offstage life private. Quote, celebrity role culture is weird, and I think it's really bizarre and really unhealthy. She says, Chappell Roan. We talked about this last week. Moving along, they talked to Kate Lindsay, a journalist and author of the internet culture newsletter Embedded, and said that other artists like Harry Styles or Taylor Swift, who have long been accustomed to the horrors of the public eye, might take Roan's example and follow suit. Quote, up until now, I think it's something people write off. You're not able to control your fans. It's a losing battle. And I think that's why the reaction has been split. There are people who are like, it's part of your job. There are people saying it doesn't have to be. And that what Roan's asking for is kind of a big cultural unlearning of how we see the people of our adoration, and this relationship the internet has been created. She's kind of like asking, let's undo that. And that's a big ask, but also a valid thing to ask. I agree. She goes on to say that part of engaging with somebody is now seeing everything that their fans are contributing to their image and their place in culture. And the power they wield has been more striking than ever. In the name of their idols, stans, or diehard fans has done a lot of things. They talked to Aaron Myers, professor at Oakland University, Rochester, Michigan, who really does a lot of research on celebrity claims. And she goes on to say that Chappell Roan and younger stars of her generation are coming in with a different sense of what celebrity is, or needs to be in order to connect to the fans. And they're talking about the way that social media relates to mental health. And that online fandoms feel a sense of ownership of the person they're standing. Sometimes that entitlement can go so far as to lead fans to behave antagonistically against the object of their admiration, criticizing them for their small decisions one day and defending them against perceived attacks another. This happens a lot. When you think about how many fans are out there and what the social media presence is, and to be able to go ahead and have to go ahead and basically perform or to continue to keep your persona out there to keep yourself interested, that's a part that is very tough. Now, They talked to Lee Romaker, a fan who feels a connection with Roan as a queer Midwesterner living on a coast. And she says, quote, I hope her fan base stays genuine. I hope it does not turn as destructive of how big she gets. And I feel a sense of protectiveness over Chappell. The point is, I was thinking right now, there's Pink Pantheress, right? She's a singer, songwriter, based in England, originally, I think, from Kenya, I think it is. But the thing is, she's gotten quite a bit of music out there. She's also very introverted herself. But there's a reason where she's decided to go and take a year off for her mental health. Lizzo, another great example. She's taking a gap year and focusing on her mental health because it's not so much, maybe in their cases, maybe of obsession. Now, I think for Pink Pantheress it is because she's very attractive. The music that she does, her persona is very quirky and she really resonates with a lot of people. For Lizzo, I think it's just going to be a lot of the backlash that has gone out there for a number of reasons. Number one, on my Broadcasters podcast, I talk about the abuse that some of her dancers and some of her people that work with her, were performing with her on stage, had said that she was like, and she had to apologize for that. Plus her own issues when it comes to trying to show off her body and flaunt herself as a bigger woman. And now all of a sudden she is apparently losing a lot of weight. And people were trying to say it's Ozempic. I don't know. But she's trying to get herself in a place of better health, mentally, physically, it definitely looks like. And it looks like you can see the difference because she's definitely lost weight. And she's showing videos of herself working out, exercising, and just trying to get herself in a different chi, find herself in a different place. But that's got to be difficult when you're a celebrity at that level. And I don't know, especially for women. It's got to be that tough. I can only imagine. In Chappell Roan's situation, she said it very clearly that when she's performing or partaking in press, then you know the Chappell Roan character's on and she's going to be prepared for whatever will be coming in front of her, what will be coming in her way. But when she's out on her own, she's being Kaylee. She's not all dressed up in the makeup and the hair and the clothing, and she's just being herself. Let her live her life. I mean, I totally understand where she's coming from with that. There's one more story I want to go and wrap up with that I saw on X, and I thought this was something interesting about when it comes down to women and the kind of modern delusion that we see that with modern women right now today of what they feel like they should be doing. And a young lady actually put out a pretty good point, the way she kind of presented it. I thought I wanted to go ahead and present it on the program. So here's what she says.
I hate to say this, but I think that women have to lower their standards. Before you go crazy on me, just hear me out. The amount of chronically single girlfriends that I know, either approaching their 30s or already in their 30s, that are like wanting to settle down and have a family, but can't, is an epidemic at this point. And we're talking about women that are financially stable, have educations, are beautiful, have their fathers in their lives, like come from nice families. Like we're not talking about like a bum bitch. We're talking about like a very decent young lady. So I'll have conversations with my friends and they'll say things like, oh, like, you know, I want him to make like at least $200,000 a year, like at minimum. He has to be in shape. Like I really like a guy with a six pack. I love a guy who's like 6'2". I need a guy with like a full head of hair. Like I can't do bald guys. Every single time you throw a new specification into what you desire, the only person that fits within the parameters of what you are looking for exists in your fucking dreams. No, I've had girlfriends tell me like, oh my God, no, he's great, this and that, like, but I can't do a short king. So you're telling me you found a guy that's like not bad looking, has a great job with benefits, like financially stable, comes from a great family, and you can't do it because his legs aren't long enough? Like, you bitches are out of your minds.
Do you agree with what she's saying? I think she's not too far off from giving some pretty good advice out there for ladies out there. Young, beautiful girl here. And I wanted to put that out there because I think the way she put it was very succinct. And I honestly do believe there are a lot of women out there, a lot of beautiful women that are single. You know, it was a time where I didn't feel that I would ever have a chance with any girls, say 20, 25 years ago, because they were all taken. And they always have been taken. But some of the others that have been brought here now that are at the point of they kind of lost their way. I don't know what happened, but unfortunately, we're at a point where so many young, beautiful women that should be with boyfriends or should be in relationships right now are not, because of what this young lady says. If there's not one standard that you feel like is a reason that you don't want to give somebody a chance, it's another. And that constantly becomes the thing that is really out there and true. And it sucks to see that. Anyway, until then, maybe you'll find somebody, but don't give up on being depraved and debaucherous.